If we were so great and all of that with civilizations and accomplishments, cities and books and all of that, what happened to us? They knew the answer would be found eventually. Eventually has arrived. It's today. What happened was a holocaust of our people that killed 95% of our people. We are the 5% that survived. What happened was that Europeans came uninvited to our civilizations and cultures and used smallpox to cleanse our lands of our race so they could have free land, free forests, free gold and silver, free farmlands, free slaves in the form of our people who remained and later Africans. They did this smallpox monstrosity, this evil, throughout our continent and well beyond our people into South Africa, Polynesia, Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of the world that had no immunity to smallpox. That's what happened. Not anything to brag about for Europeans. Not if you're supposed to be civilized and moral and claim to be part of a religion that says, as its core belief, treat others as you would have yourself treated. The elites of the white race, the white supremacists, quickly worked to hide all of this embarrassing, incriminating, and shameful information called history. And that's just what Europeans have been doing for 500 years. A conspiracy of white supremacy that lied that they are wealthy because they are the superior race on this planet. Not because they are the most genocidal, the most immoral, the most uncivilized people in the history of humanity. They can't say that. Europeans have become a culture of lies, terrorism, oppression, enslavement, and genocide to this day. They have delusions about who they are. They are happy in their lives that they are the chosen people, that they have a manifest destiny, that the world is theirs to enslave and to own. Their actions show that they are neither civilized nor Christian. Their actions show that they are a people not to be trusted with their word or their ethics or morality. Their version of history that they invented the wheel and agriculture and civilization and the printing press and guns and sailing ships and the compass and the Roman arch and writing and books and many other things, they are all a lie. They invented no civilization. The Greeks were just an offshoot of the Middle East. Mathematics, philosophy, architecture, and most of their so-called Western civilization is all a lie. But to say all of this will be interpreted as hate of the Europeans. It is not about hate of Europeans. It is about facts. It is about truth, about crimes that Europeans committed on our people and other non-European people around the world. What there is of hate is of the actions of the Europeans. How could we love all of the crimes that they committed against us? It is idiotic to not hate all of the evil that has been done to us. It is not about hating Europeans. It is about hating what they have done. And yes, we are not happy living as slaves of the white race. At least those of us who are awake, who have courage, who have studied. We are not happy with them continuing to rape our lands, our continent of its wealth, to enrich them, while most of our people live in poverty. And yes, we would prefer to be a people free. Free of Europeans controlling our lands and our wealth and our lives. We would prefer to be free. Why is it wrong or criminal to have such a desire, such a goal? All of this that I have said, I have had to explain in order to speak the word Mexica. And to speak of our Mexica civilization. I had to say all of this because Mexica civilization has been tainted by images of human sacrifice. Not of the beautiful and clean city of Tenochtitlan, not of accomplishments in medicine, calendar making, education, hygiene, and so much more. In fact, you hardly ever hear the word Mexica. We only hear the word Aztecs, and immediately the image of human sacrifice. Well, first, the word Aztec is wrong. Our people did not call themselves Aztec. Aztec is the invention of an Englishman named Kingsborough and later promoted by an American named Prescott. Prescott's book was a big seller in the 1800s, and the falseness of Aztec caught on, even in Mexico. There is a long, complicated, and beautiful history of Mexica. The best example of that is found in a book called Daily Life of the Aztecs. Again, the word Aztec is fixed in the culture that we live in. Like, I have to refer to Prescott as an American, so that you will understand that he is a European on our continent. It is difficult to speak of all of this without Eurocentric, white supremacist language. We will speak briefly of the Mexica. The Mexica were our last great civilization in Anahuac, what is called North America. From the word Mexica comes the following words: Mexican, Mexico, Chicano. Mexica is the ideal from which we can reconstruct ourselves as a Nicantlaca nation. Mexica has enough surviving literature, art, language, and other essentials for the collective identity of all Nicantlaca. Mexica collective Nicantlaca identity does not negate or lessen other civilizations or cultures. Mexica civilization and its Nahuatl language will provide enough infrastructure for the reconstruction of a Nicantlaca Sema-Nahuatl civilization that will be free of the European slave culture and mentality that now dominates our lives. In the next lecture, we will get into the details of what it means to reconstruct our Mexica civilizations and culture. So that's the introduction to Mexica. I intentionally did it the way I did because I know a lot of the facts, a lot of the language. It's dangerous. I forget what the quote I got from Scott, but it's the thing about it's dangerous for our people to become thinkers. It's even more dangerous for our people to become doers. And what we're trying to do as Mexica Movement is to create a people that is knowledgeable about who they are, can explain who they are, can stand up for themselves with truth, can confront lies and white supremacy. And that's going to take a while. I don't know most of you in this room, but I'm sure you understand why it's so difficult. If I can say I have a problem myself dealing with all these issues because I'm still colonized, and just by the language that I'm having to use. I'm still colonized in my dreams. I'm still colonized in a lot of ways that I'll probably never be able to change. So this is hopefully something to get you to think, and then some of you may decide to take some action on this and start learning and get involved in reality within the next week. Some of you may take you 15, 20 years. That is the reality. But the idea is, at least you're here. It says you're interested. You may not even agree, but think about this kind of the other thing when people say, well, I got my opinion about something. Based on what? People have all kinds of opinions, but hardly anybody that has an opinion has actually studied the situation. We were talking about the whole thing with this whole Olmec thing. And a few people over the years said, well, you should write something about it. And I said, I didn't even want to get to the point of putting this on paper, because I know the people that are behind this whole Afrocentric Olmecs, they're not going to listen. You can show them if there was film of it, and you can prove everything, and then they say, okay, yeah, but what about blah, blah, blah? You know, and then what about blah, blah, blah? And then they go right back to the beginning again, something that you had already proven to them. And it's like Naliola was talking earlier about this whole Hispanic, Latino, raza, mestizo, and you can prove it to people why it's racist, why it's against our own people, and that's part of what enslaves our mentality, and some people won't listen to it. Or what was talked earlier about the dyeing of the hair, or the blue eye contacts, and what wasn't mentioned was the whole thing about the skin bleachers. Oh, I hit a chord, okay? Because you've seen that. That's another issue that's going on. And what is that about? It's not about looking better. It's about looking more European. Okay? That's what it's about. And if you're trying to look more European, is that you're totally hateful of the fact that you look Nicantlaca. You look at like an indigenous person. You look like what you are. But what do they associate being Nicantlaca, being non-white? Losers. Poor people, blah, 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 negative, negative, negative. And you say, well, what about all our civilization? Yeah, Aztecs, human sacrifice? Yeah, like I want to be part of that. So there's all of this mentality that is in our conscious minds and our minds that are somewhere else that we're not even aware of. So this is kind of a way to kind of shake you up a little bit. Those of you in the room, and we're doing this for YouTube, so this knowledge goes out there, and at one point, somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be going through this, and maybe they won't be able to sleep the rest of the night, because they've never heard of any of this. And what we're hoping that, whether it takes another generation or 2 generations, at one point, our people are going to have to get their shit together. Because right now, we're a disaster.